You're listening to Heritage Radio Network. HRN is food radio supported by you. Learn more at heritageradionetwork.org. Forno Bravo produces the world's finest modular and assembled pizza ovens. Since 2003, Forno Bravo has provided beautiful and well-made wood and gas-fired brick ovens to homes, outdoor kitchens, restaurants, and mobile businesses around the world. Forno's ovens stretch from basic to professional models, cast refractory, steel, and brick cores, modular kits, and fully assembled ovens to meet any requirement, as well as custom tile patterns, colors, logos, and exterior shapes. Emphasizing variety as well as quality and craftsmanship, Forno Bravo creates the perfect aesthetic for your space as well as solid technology. After thousands of satisfied customers, Forno Bravo is just getting started. Learn more about their products at fornobravo.com. I'm Peter Reinhardt. Welcome to Pizza Quest. I'm coming to you from Atlantic City, the Northeast Pizza, Pasta, and Artisan Baking Expo at the Atlantic City Convention Center. And I'm sitting here with one of our old friends, Will Grant, who many of you, if you've been following Pizza Quest for years, know him from when he was just getting on the map, the pizza culinary map as a rising star. There's been how long ago it was when you won the Caputo Cup in New York City. That was like the first time you came on our radar. But the owner of two great pizzerias out in the Puget Sound area. So we're going to hear all about that now. But a lot else has happened in Will's life since last year when we had you on Pizza Quest. So we want to catch up with you and find out what's going on. You're becoming now, I don't know, the poster boy of the artisan pizza world. So Will, welcome back.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate being here and chatting with you.
About That's a Some Pizza, your first, your most well-known pizzeria, but also what's the sourdough?
Sourdough Willie's Pizzeria.
Willie's,
So that's a Some
other.
Pizza on Bay Magellan. We have Sourdough Willie's Pizzeria in Kingston. Yes.
And all that's out there in Washington, near Seattle.
On the Puget, formerly known as the Puget Sound, now known as the Salish Sea. They've given it the
right?
old Native American name.
Is that right? I didn't even. I'm way behind the curve.
Yeah, it's been a few years since we talked.
That's a big deal to change the name of a landmark like Puget Sound.
Absolutely,
Salish Sea.
The Salish Sea.
Well, thank you. You've just given me a new trivia thing for my next Jeopardy game.
Your next Snapple fact.
Yeah, right. Well, anyway, Will, lots going on in your life. You're here at the expo. Are you a judge, or you were the keynote speaker? That's the one big
yes,
headline.
my first time ever being a keynote speaker.
That means a lot when you get invited to be a keynote speaker. That means you're on somebody else's radar besides mine.
Absolutely right. No, it's been an amazing evolution since like you said, in 2017, winning the Caputo Cup, and my manager winning second place in the traditional style, while I got first place in non-traditional, making me the top-rated pizziolo in the United States. And on top of that, the only one competing at the time with the sourdough starter. And that made me, and even since there's competitions, I'm now the top sourdough competitor in the world.
Really?
So it's kind of crazy.
Wow, yeah, because when you go over to to Italy and compete, they don't.
London,
they're behind us on sourdough.
A big time.
But what's happened here since you kind of helped put sourdough on everybody's consciousness, we knew we had a few other guys doing sourdough, like Anthony Mangieri and Una Pizza Napolitana, and then Dan Richer came along and he's doing sourdough. Now it feels like it's almost like you have to be doing sourdough to have real credibility anymore. Sourdough is now the way to go.
Absolutely. I think it's the way it should be. But yeah, it's definitely neat to see the growth and the love for sourdough, which I always thought was so funny. When I competed in 2017, no one used it. Sourdough is the oldest way to leaven bread. That's beer and bread. That's all came together with yeast.
Yeah,
in
instant
Egypt.
yeast is really a blip on the screen of
really
history.
Is, yes.
But that's what we all grew up with. And now, of course, the pandemic helped to kind of awaken this country to the joys of sourdough.
It really did, and I think and more so, it gave people at home an appreciation for commercial products that are real sourdough, because they didn't have to try to feed a starter and keep it alive.
True.
Because usually most people come to me and say, I had a sourdough starter, but I killed it.
Yeah, right. Which they really didn't. If they had called me, I could have said, I'll show you how to revive
exactly.
it. But they think they killed it.
Yes.
But then during the pandemic, then everybody wanted to be able to make sourdough bread.
Well, it was a perfect storm for me. Everyone wanted to make pizza and everyone wanted sourdough. I've been making sourdough pizza at that point for about 37 years. So
you're right. It's not new to you.
Not great.
But you are now the new, quote, ambassador of sourdough, and pizza making. So what are you doing here at the show this year? You're not competing, you're speaking.
Yes, I'm speaking this year. It's been a lot of fun transitioning from the guy that was hungover running around to all the seminars to the guy that's hungover running around teaching the seminars.
That's right. and your proteges are competing.
Yes, Katamia Ives, my head pizziola from Sourdough Willie's, she competed in Roman style with.
I just saw a photo of her
she did a really good job. I'm really proud of her and what she presented
awesome.
Here today.
Is this her first time competing?
No, this is her first time doing Roman. This is her third time competing,
okay, so
second time here, and she's competed in Vegas once also.
So she's embraced the competition world.
Well, she has. She actually won Best Pizza Maker in the Northwest region of the United States in Vegas this year.
Wow.
Yeah,
wow.
So it's really fun to take my passion, share it with others, and see others.
Yeah, that becomes your legacy is the people that you've influenced and trained. Yeah.
And then she was competing. Then I was a keynote speaker on day 2. I got to, unfortunately, I had to follow Melissa Rickman because she just killed it.
She was
really,
well-known
really good.
speaker. What did she speak on?
She talked about her pizza journey in Fort Lupton, Colorado, and coming from Jersey to California and back. It was really neat to learn more about her and her different transitions of life from being...
For people who don't know who Melissa Rickman is, can you tell everybody briefly?
She is a member of the World Pizza Champion team, and she's one of the competitors that competes with me all across the world. And it's just really an amazing human being. Her and her husband travel along. Fort Lupton, Colorado.
So the Colorado.
And it's called Holy Stromboli.
Holy Stromboli. Oh,
if you've been to the show, right?
Yeah,
because she does speeches on Stromboli.
On Pizza Quest at one point. Every time I see her speaking, I got to grab her, but I can never find her when I'm here.
Yes, she's on the run. She's a busy girl. I think she's the only person that did more presentations than me at the show.
So she did hers right before your keynote?
The day before. So there's two different keynotes. That was day 2.
So your keynote was today.
Yes.
And what did you talk about at your keynote address?
Well, for me, it was kind of introducing the pizza world to my story, because everyone here knows me from 2017 on, from my journey of winning the Caputo Cup and getting in the sourdough library and being on the World Pizza Champion team and competing internationally. But what the world didn't know was that I've been making for 35 years pizzas beforehand. And
so you were an overnight success in 2017,
exactly, yeah.
But there was 35 years leading up to being overnight success.
Yeah, it just took a little while, but no, it's for me, my parents opened a restaurant in 1984 when I was 6 years old. Then when I was 10 years old, we took a 2-month trip to Italy where we came back, and I actually, instead of bringing some kind of souvenir, we brought back an Italian master chef that I apprenticed under for the next several years. So my journey started when I was 6 years old to now. So it's been fun to share that with the pizza world. I really appreciate the most.
I'm sorry, we have another guest coming on after you, but he got here early. Can you tell the guy right there, Paul,
in the Lloyd pans there?
Sorry. This is live theater here. We have all sorts of
the
people
drama
drop
of the trade shows.
There's a chance any minute now Scott Wiener could drop in on the show. So we love the spontaneity of all this. So I knew your story. I know because we've talked about it in the past. So in a sense, we heard your keynote when you were on Pizza Quest last year, because you
and the time before, and with the article also that I wrote with you guys.
So we know it, but not every new listener, knows the whole story. So the thing was that when you were doing sourdough pizzas, it was a sourdough. Was it a family?
So it was a family heirloom that had been given to us by our very first business partner, the Hausman family. They had inherited it he had inherited it from his great-great-grandfather. It was given to him in California, but it had come from the Klondike Gold Rush, from a family that had moved, as the story goes, a family that had moved down to California. And Phil's great-great-grandfather used to whittle wood and make toys for kids for Christmas. So he had given these wooden toys to this new family in the neighborhood that had just struck it rich in the Klondike Gold Rush, and they gave him some of their sourdough starter. Because during the Klondike Gold Rush, you had to take a year's worth of provisions with you to Alaska, to Canada, because people kept on dying of starvation up there.
Right.
So they had to make sure that you could survive going up there. So that's really the term for an old sourdough in Alaska. And really the prominence there came from because by keeping it warm and sleeping with their sourdough starters,
right.
They kept alive and they could bake leaven breads
Is
and
it
stuff
true,
like that.
or is it sort of mythic that these old sourdough guys would siphon off the liquor that the starters would generate and trade it with the local Indian tribes and call it hooch?
I've never heard about it before, but I know the term is hooch like that.
Because there was a tribe called the Hoochin Indians.
The Hoochin, I'm going to have to look into that.
They would trade
awesome.
for furs and food for the Indians in exchange for firewater, basically.
That's amazing. Yeah, I mean, the oldest texts in the world are Egyptian hieroglyphs, where they have pictures of people using these sourdoughs as lactobacterias to make beer and to make bread. So it makes sense. That's where all alcohol came from originally.
Crazy.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. I'm gonna have to look into that one now. That's really, really cool.
So meanwhile, you've inherited this starter. Did you know what to do with it?
Yeah, well, we were taught how to use it, and we had used it for years and years and years. For me, in 2017, not only did I compete for the first time, but I had gone to my first Pizziolo school. So, and then I kind of learned the terms for everything. But having a sourdough starter for my whole life, it was kind of like a sibling, and I'd grown and fed it all along. So I knew how to work with it. I knew how to manipulate it. I knew how much water to feed it during the summertime or the wintertime to slow down the process, to speed up the process.
Seasonal.
Very
variation.
seasonal,
Yeah.
Pacific Northwest. Usually there's, it's only recently it's gotten really warm, but it's pretty constantly, 80 degrees in the summertime there.
Yeah.
But when you're baking like that, it really has the atmosphere and the ambient heat really plays into how you make your doughs.
Can you describe the sourdough that is made where you live in what's it called?
Salish Sea.
The Salish Sea. How would that compare to San Francisco sourdough, which seems to be a similar kind of
It's a lot of it's a similar strain up there,
similar?
but mine's really unique because we have done something different. Also, we've never refrigerated ours ever in 39 years. Where most places do, especially like in California, it's a lot hotter there. So you talked about the hooch earlier. When you have more heat, it's gonna break down faster. Just kind of like when you have a higher hydration, a Polish compared to a Biga. And I say those in terms of the water, not in adding yeast beforehand, because the idea for Polish started before commercial yeast. The idea for Biga started before commercial yeast. So when I talk about those, I'm just talking about the percent of hydration in them.
Yes.
So when you have a higher hydration dough, it's going to ferment faster. Also affects that is heat. So when you have a lot of heat, you're going to get a lot of more acidity to it. So a San Francisco sourdough is going to be a little more tangy, got a little more sour to it than a Washington one does.
It's very tangy, yes.
Well, to the point of when I'm good friends with one of the former owners of Boudin's Bakery, so I've really got to know them really well.
The oldest sourdough company in San Francisco,
probably the most famous sourdough bakery in the world.
Fisherman's Wharf.
Yeah, it's amazing. His family is the ones that opened it there on the wharf and stuff like that.
1849.
Mike Gerardo, he's an amazing guy. He still fishes down there. He comes up and visits me in Washington all the time. Really a great family. But the idea about it, though, is he would tell me, and I noticed myself, a lot of those San Francisco restaurants, they don't really make sourdough. They add vinegar to their bread to make it taste more like it's vinegary, like it's sour. So you get a lot of faux sourdoughs down there made with vinegar, not with actual sourdough.
Because they don't want to go to the trouble of the feeding and care of their living organisms.
Well, that's a funny thing. That's always always deters people from wanting to do sourdough. Is the idea? It's this really labor-intensive idea. You're just making a pre-dough the day before, and it's either 50% hydration, 100%, whatever percent hydration you want. It's a very, very easy process.
Yeah, and
it just needs to be a process.
Yeah,
is what
and once you get over the intimidation and fear, and the fear that you're going to kill it,
exactly,
it's actually not that hard.
And talk about the hooch too, it's really neat. So at the sourdough library, when I visited my sourdough there, I was giving a very special gift by Carl DeSmet, the sourdough librarian there. I think he's been on the show before.
We've had him on Pizza Quest. And for those who weren't with us last year, don't know, the sourdough library is in Belgium,
and it houses about 130 or 40.
Yeah, I think they're at 140 now in St. Vith, Belgium. Yeah.
Yes, historic sourdough starters, and it keeps them alive. And yours is one of them.
Yeah, mine is number 104.
Number
yes.
104
yes.
in the sourdough library.
So when I was competing in London one year, I took the time with my mother to go to Belgium and visit him there and visit my sourdough starters
nice.
there. And he gave me this gift. It was the most magnificent gift. So every month they have to feed these starters there. They feed them once a month. So because they only feed it once a month, they get a lot of that hooch on top of them. So it builds up. So as a gift, he took the hooch from all of them and bottled them in these amazing bottles. So I have a bottle of this hooch from the 104
have you
of them.
drunk any of it?
I've tasted it. I haven't drank it. I've tasted it.
It's pure grain alcohol is what it is.
It you know what it tastes like? It tastes like brandy.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing. I love whenever I do my classes. I do a lot of Pizza 101 classes at Sourdough Willie's, and I'm a master instructor at the School of Pizzaiolo Italiano. And when I do those classes, I really like to bring that and show to people. Yes, it's acidic. Yes, it's sour, but look at the beautiful brandy it can make.
Well,
exactly. It's really neat stuff.
Very interesting. Because in the historic, the story, whether it's true or myth, the Indians would get totally drunk on this hooch. And that's how the term hooch came about. Was they were the Hoochin Indians, and they essentially give food and furs and things to the sourdough.
That is
miners.
I need to look into that. I need to look up.
But it's potent stuff. I mean, I would imagine drinking that because it's not. It's naturally distilled. It's not like distilled like through a distills.
No, not.
And so
not.
it can give you. It can make you blind if you drink too much of it, basically.
Like those stories from my dad about his buddies making beer and the kids going blind. Is that you're telling me you go blind when it's a starter?
Right. So you over time, over years, you got a business now, a restaurant. You're perfecting your craft. And with the sourdough starters,
well, I see myself as a perpetual student. Even though I'm a master instructor, I'm a perpetual student of being better. That's one of the things I've learned from the World Pizza Champion team. To be the best, you're not the best. You're always trying to be the best. So I see myself as a perpetual student that way. But
good.
Yeah, always trying to learn, always try to change things, always try to make things easier on my staff to make more things and to make things better. Like Sourdough Willie's, we serve 6 different styles of pizza. The one we don't make is the gluten-free because there's too much gluten in my restaurant to make gluten-free. But we have the other 5 styles. There's one dough for my Sicilian, Detroit, my Roman, my artisan style pizza. I do one hydration dough, and then I do one dough for my New York style. So try to perfect the process not only of sourdough and the doughs, but making one universal master dough that can be used and shaped and folded into different kinds of pizza.
The New York dough that you make, what differentiates it from the universal dough? Is it
so
the
with
type of flour?
With my New York dough, because I'm sourdough, I really try to keep that sourdough flavor. So I use a lighter oil. I don't use extra virgin olive oil. I use canola oil in it.
Yeah.
So you don't get that sharp flavor.
Yeah, it doesn't cover over the subtle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Plus, we do it at a lower hydration because it's New York style. We do 60% hydration.
60.
So
what hydration is your starter?
My starter, I keep that around 70% hydration.
Okay, so it's kind of like, it feels like a biga. It feels like a piece of dough.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I found, for me, with my temperature in my kitchen, in the way that I have my staff there too, I can't have them feeding a starter every 3 hours.
Yeah.
So I needed to put it at the perfect hydration with our temperature that it'd be at the perfect peak level when we're making the dough the next day.
So does the 60% dough that you're putting that 70% sourdough starter in, does that raise the overall hydration of the dough, or is that the final hydration of the dough?
I factor them in together.
So you're starting with even less than 60% water.
Exactly.
And what percentage of starter is going into the final dough?
So for me, what I found with my 2 different styles.
We're getting all Will's secrets here.
Yes, right. Yeah, right. I love sharing them.
Pay attention.
With my my high hydration dough that I use for my master dough for 4 of them, I do that as 80% hydration dough. Yeah. That one I use olive oil, and it's a higher hydration. So the differences between the two are mainly the water that way.
I see.
So sorry, I got myself off track with that.
But is it the same flour?
It's the same flour. Yes, the same high gluten flour to hold everything in. So it was about the percentage of starter to it.
Yeah.
So the reason why I wanted the different. So I found when I'm doing a higher hydration dough, it's a lot more water. It ferments faster, like we were talking about earlier.
Even if everything else is the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I take the percentage of sourdough in the recipe down to 10% for a high hydration dough. And I also add more salt to it because there's more water in it. You got to give it more flavor,
More salt.
but you don't want it to over ferment, so you give it less sourdough. So with my New York style dough, I do 20% hydration.
20%
Of the
sourdough
sourdough,
starter to new flour.
Exactly.
So 20% of whatever flour you put in, that's how you weigh out your starter.
But it gets really complicated because there's flour on that starter, and you got to add that over the top.
Yeah,
too.
but from this knowing how to scale things out,
Yeah.
you can just as long as you know I got 100 pounds of flour, then that means I need to put 20 pounds of starter in.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even that's one of the classes. So I really had the honor of not only being the keynote here this week, I also did a class on I call it baker's percentages that work 160% of the time.
That's good. I saw the sign for that class.
Yeah, it was a great.
Did
Was
you
a
get
lot
a
of
good
fun.
turnout?
Yeah, really, really good turnout.
People really want to understand baker's math.
They
now.
do, and it's really there's so much now at these shows. If you don't know about hydrations, you don't know half of what everyone's talking about here.
You know, the workshop I did, which was tinkering with your dough, people come to learn how to improve their dough. When I asked how many of you have ever been to this pizza event in the past, 80% of the people have never been here before. So
That's
there were still a lot of
amazing.
new people
That's great.
getting into the pizza business, the game, or just enthusiasts.
COVID's really brought a lot of people our way.
Yeah.
And I think it's good. People see you can be your own boss. You can work hard, and there's something therapeutic about rolling dough. Like one of my my bucket list things is to make a batch of dough with John Arena, just to sit there because it's very therapeutic, very zen-like to just roll out a batch of dough. And I've done millions at this point, but still to this day, I'd still love to do something like that because there's something about making your dough. And for me, when you feed that starter every day, and then it's given to someone, or actually what happens is you feed the starter, you make it dough every day, then the customer comes to my restaurant and they take it home, they eat it with their family.
Yeah.
Well, in this day and age, the only time that families really get together is eating that sourdough, eating that pizza, that meal together.
Yeah.
So I'm feeding love, I'm feeding family times and emotional time together in my sourdough, and that's reflected to families eating it together at home. It's just such a powerful thing for me.
And you've got the two pizzerias. You got That's a Some Pizza.
That's a Some Pizza.
That's a Some Pizza. That's your kind of flagship. And then you get Sourdough Willie's.
Sourdough Willie's, yes.
Are the menus different at the two
Very,
places?
very different. That's a Some Pizza just does New York style carry out and delivery. Sourdough Willie's has 6 different
All
styles
the
of
different
pizza,
things,
has a full bar, has a slice house up front, and actually we just added pastas to Sourdough
Willie's sounds a lot like Tony Gemignani's,
Tony's,
Pizza Napoli,
absolutely.
where he does all these different styles.
Exactly.
But you
That's every
studied with
model.
Tony.
I did, yes. He's my mentor.
And you're on Tony's pizza team, the
Yes.
World Championship pizza team.
Yes, I was
World
hand selected
Pizza
by him
Champions.
to be
Yeah,
on the World
yeah.
Pizza Champion team.
Yeah. Well, Tony Gemignani, as many of our listeners know, I mean, he spent the last 10 or 20 years plucking the best talent that he could find and creating these teams that compete in Italy and around the world. So there's other teams, but the World Pizza Champions team are the ones that Tony hand selected and hand trained.
It's amazing because it doesn't just, not only here at these shows are we looked at with respect. When I go to Italy, I go to England, I go to Portugal, I'm looked at with respect across the world because of Tony being my mentor and what I'm trying to do with the industry the same way that
And when
Tony
you go,
is.
you're wearing your jacket, which is loaded with decals, right?
Yes.
There's the That's a Some Pizza decal, but there's the World Pizza Champions decal. There's a couple on your arm here.
Do that
The
Performance Food Group. I got Pizza
so you're
Masters.
brand
That's just
ambassador.
the front. If you look at the back,
Oh my God, there's the back. So in the back, you look like a NASCAR driver. You got Lloyd Pans. You got all these different brands, cheese companies. Anyway, essentially, you've become, as a result of your acclaim and success, have become a brand ambassador for a lot of these companies.
I have absolutely. Yeah.
So you never have to pick up a check anymore.
Yeah, well, not often, but I still like to, right? I still like to. Well, the way I look at it is it's all investment in my business. So the more that I can get and help other people, the better it is. So whatever I take from these sponsors, I bring my crew to Pizza Expo. So one of the
That's why I like to eat at
sponsors.
Chef Vola's with you, because when somebody from your group picks up the check, and that's an expensive check.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely. But I like to bring my whole team. I run a booth for Shepherd's Grain Flour, which is a locally milled, sustainably farmed flour in the Pacific Northwest, and to be able to be a brand ambassador for them and bring my team to make pizzas for them there and make some of the best pizzas at the show. But beyond that, these farmers have been farming the land as long as my sourdough starter has been alive. So that means a lot to me.
Yeah.
And then being able to share that with my staff and show them these trade shows and
Yeah.
and really, like you said, have them compete and push them to be more and better also. It's really a lot of fun.
Well, I got to ask you this before we run out of time: is a lot's happened in the 6 to 7 years since we first met. You've been like a shooting star ascending, because your jacket didn't have all those decals the first time I saw you.
No, it did not.
But little by little. So what's next for you? What are the new frontiers facing you in the next cycle of your life?
Well, for me, it's I'm actually slowing down a little bit. I realized having an 11-year-old daughter and me traveling 2 weeks out of every month of the year is kind of a lot. So I'm trying to keep myself to more doing my school at home, doing my Scuola Pizzaiolo Italiana professional course.
So people coming to you. Your school is right there.
Absolutely.
Is it?
It's at Sourdough. So I do it at both
Sourdough Willie's.
restaurants
Oh, okay.
because I have the takeout delivery, I have the slice house, I have the fine dining
You can do it
restaurant.
all right there,
I'm not showing people just how to make good pizza. I want to show them how to make good pizza and be successful the next 15 years with their business.
Uh-huh.
So I'm teaching them the business quality
And
of
do you
things
teach them also non-sourdough pizzas?
Yeah,
with yeast? 'Cause
absolutely.
you have
Greek
to for the
recommends
school.
it. Yeah, absolutely, yes.
So do you put any yeast at all in your sourdough pizza?
In my at my businesses, yes. So my sourdough starter gets absolutely no yeast in it, but my breads and my pizzas, they do get a little bit
So
of
when you mix
yeast in
the
them.
final dough, then you spike
Exactly,
it with a little.
but what I do, so there's no rules in the world about sourdough, right? That's how it is. But there's one rule in France, and in France they say to be a true sourdough, you can only use 0.005% yeast
Yeah.
in your final dough.
It's really-
so that's what I use in my dough to be proficient with it.
That's and that's not uncommon. It's like there was this thing of the purest thing, and no yeast ever goes into my dough. I'm sorry, and yeah, you can make it that way. But if you're in a business, you have to be able to rely on the timing of your dough, and sometimes that yeast can make the difference of keeping you on track.
Well, after being in business for 35 years, you're a member of the community. You're a member of your town, right? And your town needs to be able to depend on you for your quality product. They don't care if my sourdough starter was cold one day and couldn't rise.
Yeah.
They want to have that family time, and they want to
They're
be able to
counting on
enjoy
you
it with us. And
being the same when you-
exactly.
yeah.
So being a part of that community, you have to be there for them. So
So-
for me, it's really doing more schooling,
Yeah.
doing more classes at Pizza Expo. I'm going to be doing a master dough with Sourdough Willie, and that's going to be a pizza making class there. And it's kind of a play on words. It's not mastering dough. It's using a master dough that's high hydration that you can use on several
Lots of
different
different
styles
things,
of pizza.
yeah.
Just showing people the versatility of their dough that
Right.
they're making.
So it seems to me like you're kind of in the phase after being in the business for 40 years or so,
40 years next year.
and achieving in the later stage a lot of acclaim, and that now you're kind of more in the mentoring phase.
Yeah, I think so. You have to be. To grow, you have to. That's the kind of next step of
Yeah,
things.
and that's great because not everybody recognizes
No.
that there's another stage of there's more that I want to accomplish, and I've accomplished. My product is no longer my pizza. My product are the people that can go
Absolutely,
out there
yeah.
and extend the word.
And plus having for a long time I wanted my daughter to be like me. I wanted her to be a pizza maker, but now I realize I want her to be her.
Yeah.
But in being me, I can't have her working the restaurants at 6 years old like I was. I can't be dragging her along to Italy and stuff like that for non-work stuff. So the reality is I want to be there for her as a dad for
Yeah.
the next 7 years.
Yeah.
And once that happens, I can start expanding more again. But I just want to focus on me and my
That's good,
family
good.
and mentoring other
so this
people
is
also.
a time to kind of pull in a little bit.
Yeah. I've spent 40 years doing this. What's
Yeah.
6 more years?
So you're not
of-
planning to go over and compete in Italy this year?
I haven't decided yet. Probably not. I've been doing quite a few. I want to spend a little more time with the family this year,
Yeah,
so probably kick back a little bit from that. But I was invited to represent the United States and Portugal. I'll probably go do that one again.
That's sweet.
The
Well,
old
one of the
Arsides.
recurrent themes on the show from people that are having exploding careers and things is the desire to have a work-life balance.
Yes.
And because they can get out of bounds real fast when things are going.
Real quick,
So
real
it sounds like you're putting those pieces together
Well,
now.
it's kind of like I talked about earlier. It's a master of nothing, just trying everything all the time.
Yeah,
And just
yeah.
try what I can, do the best I can. Hopefully it'll work out at the end. I could be completely wrong, but who knows? We'll
Yeah.
see.
Well, Will Grant, thank you again for being part of the Pizza Quest story and for allowing us to follow your story and your journey, your own quest.
Well, I feel like a part of my quest is due to your guys' quest also, and I really appreciate your support and being able to be a part of you on this journey through Pizza Quest. It's really always an honor to be with you and to go to Vola's and to chat sourdough with you. I really hope we get to do a sourdough or just a bread working workshop together sometime.
That would be really wonderful
It'd be
and
a good
fun.
time.
And it's great in this world. Our paths cross typically at these expos, but every once in a while we get to work together on something.
Exactly.
So it's been a great, I call it a tribal experience, being part of this large tribe of pizza freaks and I call them pizza and fire freaks and bread heads. Well,
thanks for being a part of my pizza freak family.
Thanks for being what we call a kindred spirit.
Kindred spirits. Yeah. I love it.
Will Grant, thank you. Thanks for being on Pizza Quest. Thank all of you for listening to Pizza Quest. Join us next week for another episode. We'll see you then.
Pizza Quest is powered by Simplecast. Thanks for listening to Heritage Radio Network, food radio supported by you. Keep in touch at heritageradionetwork.org/subscribe.